Hello, everybody, and welcome to Keep It Spiritually Simple. I'm your host, Sandra McGellis. And before I introduce our beautiful guest who has come back to grace us with so much wisdom, she's a wisdom goddess as far as I'm concerned, Maureen St Germain. But we're going to talk about how you can support our channel. And that is by simply just taking a movement of your finger and hitting like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment or a question. It just helps the algorithms on our behalf take this video and swirl it around so it lands on someone's social media platform right when they need it most. Divine timing. So, we're going to talk with Maureen about what is going on in our skies, like solar flares, CMEs, and so on. Now, before I even knew what the heck was happening in the last couple of weeks, my body was telling me everything. It was like I was over adrenaline. It was like I had too much caffeine. My body has been in rev, gotta go, gotta do, gotta be 10 and 2, driving my car like it's 90, like Mario Andretti out there, and everyone else needs to get out of my way. So I didn't know that all these other things were occurring, but when I did, it kind of made sense. So I think that we can correlate what's going on in the stratosphere and what's happening trickling down into our physical bodies. It may help us understand to take accountability and responsibility for how our body is responding to all of it. Because mine has felt like my heart wanted to push through my sternum, and I'm still having to breathe through it. Some may say, well, girly, you're getting light codes, you're getting downloads, you're getting upgrades, you're calibrating. And yes, that's all true. But how do I deal with all of that in my daily life? That is where I have to catch myself tripping sometimes, literally tripping sometimes. So, Maureen, let's talk about what is happening, please. And welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure, and it's so much fun to be in your presence. You're a wisdom keeper yourself, so
Hmm.
it's a delight to be here. So first thing I want to talk about is the CMEs, coronal mass ejection, which happened last week, and I want to alert people that this energy that Sandra is talking about was on its way to us, before the actual ejection occurred. I believe that we get boosts from the great central sun, and then that boost comes through our sun, and then it can come to us. And one of the things that I was told about 6 months ago, maybe more, was to create the ability for a person to literally activate a coronal mass ejection for themselves to give them a boost, to clean themselves out, and more. So in this case, when this happened and we were shown and told that there's going to be this big shift, I I worked with it, and then after working with it for like a day, all of a sudden I was reminded, hey, that meditation you made a while back is perfect for this purpose. So first I want to show a picture. So my husband went out late on, I think it was Tuesday night, maybe Wednesday night, and he said to me, you need to come out here. And the sky was black to me. You could see the stars. Excuse me. But he said, the sky looks red. And I said, how can that be? And sure enough, now I know you gave me screen sharing, but I don't know what happened here.
I'll go
So
back. We can share when you're ready. I'll hit it when you're ready.
I am ready now, actually.
Okay, let me go
And
back to it because I don't know how to work it any other way, but um there you go. Let's see if it'll share now.
okay, let's see.
Technology is not my thing. So any of you that are listening, we're showing this on YouTube, Sandra McGullis. So feel free to hop over here and you can see more Maureen's beautiful face and our personalities and what she's showing. So hopefully I did this correctly.
Okay, so you've shared your screen, but you have not given me permission to share.
All
That's the issue.
right, let me see what I got to do here. Um,
While you're figuring that out, I'm going to talk a little.
Yeah,
Is
keep
that okay?
talking. Yeah, keep talking. Hopefully,
So,
we should have done
so,
this ahead of time, but that's all right.
so this big event um, was occurring, but I didn't realize that we would actually be able to see it as a as a corona, or as a
I put down that you could share now.
very good.
Okay.
Okay. So first things first. This picture I did not take. This was taken in Phoenix. Now, remember my husband saying that there's some red in the sky, and when I first look at the sky, it just looks black to me. And then as I started to look at it, I thought, that looks pretty cool. And then I went to my phone. I thought, well, maybe if I take a picture, I will be able to see a little more. So then I went out and took a picture, and this is what I saw with my flash. Now, this is my backyard, and we have a beautiful view of a bunch of hills and cliffs that are part of the Sedona network. And then I got a text from my friend whose friend took the original picture I showed you already, and she told me how to do it with the night vision. And oh, what happened? What did I do?
I don't know. I
Do that
put
again.
multiple screen shares on there so you could do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, let's go back. All right, here we go. So you saw this. This is my regular camera, and this is what happened when I put it on night vision. It takes like 5 seconds, and it really lets you see the sky. Isn't that amazing? Now,
Hmm.
the reason this is useful to look at and to know about is because it gives us some reality. Now, how do I close this here? Oh, let's go back to this picture and then I'll close it if I can figure out how. Can you close me? Maybe it's hidden.
The
Hmm.
only thing I can do is just go back to like stop sharing.
Okay.
Is that
Stop
what you want me
sharing.
to do?
Yeah,
All
that'll be
right.
fine.
I'll go to stop sharing. Okay. But I'm still viewing your screen. I see multiple pictures there.
Okay, so now we're good.
Hmm.
So, what's important is to begin to understand that this was a big upgrade, as Sandra described, and to have physical, visual confirmation of the energy that's hitting the earth is huge. And there were many astronomers who were talking about how this CME would hit the planet. And it's like doing an upgrade from an older version of software, an operating system, to a newer version. You have a little glitch and everything goes black or silent for a while, and then it comes on board. So a couple of things happen. When we disconnected from I'll call it the old way or the old grid, we had a bunch of stacked memories that came in that we didn't know what to do with. So, for example, one of my friends explained to me that she was seeing stupid stuff she did when she was a teenager, or stuff that she said when she was 10, that she knew was hurtful after the fact and regretted it, but couldn't seem to fix it. So, I said to her, you can go back in your mind's eye and see the event. And then when you see the event and you already know the outcome, you change the picture. So, for example, if you said something mean or inappropriate, you would change what you say enough to make it acceptable or positive. And then as that memory comes up, you change it again and you change it again. It may take 3 to 5 times of repetition, but you don't proactively do it. You let it just filter up and you give it a new timeline. So what you're doing is merging the timeline, the ideal timeline, with the timeline that you didn't like, okay? And what happens is it filters in and becomes the new timeline. And not only that, but it changes the way we are today. So then it cascades like dominoes up to where we are now. And so the changes become sequential and we experience a new version of ourselves without realizing how or why that came on board. And I want to give you another little funny example that I hope people can see the relationship. I had a bathroom in the corner of the family room, which was in a split level, and it was on the lower level, but it was in a corner and it was always cold. There was a tiny bit of mold in the shower, and my kids used it, but I didn't like it. And I had an attitude about this bathroom. And we had a flood, and the flood was bad enough that we had to peel off the wallpaper and start over. Before I put up the new wallpaper, I wrote on the wall, "This is a sweet bathroom. This is the perfect bathroom for the family room. Everyone comes in here and has such an experience of comfort, and they can leave feeling good." And I wrote all these things on the wall. You know, we got rid of the mold, we did all that stuff. And then we put the wallpaper up. Every guest that used that bathroom would come back to the kitchen and say to me exactly what I'd written on the wall, even though they couldn't see it.
Wow.
So where's the analogy? When we reframe something and we create a new matrix, we can change the reality. Okay. And in the book that I wrote, Mastering Your 5D Self, I explain how we can change the past and we can also change the future. But we can change the past in a very interesting way, which I'll talk about in a second. So now, staying on top of the CME, one of the things that happened to me recently is I attended a shamanic event in Mexico with a friend. And neither one of us were very much into the shamanic thing, but we both got guidance that we should be there. And there were 500 women there. There were probably 50 abuelos, grandmothers, and it was called a gathering of the grandmothers. And it was to pray for peace and to balance and harmonize the earth. And that was the week before the CMEs. And one of the things that I heard one of the speakers say, now keep in mind, all the speakers were speaking in Spanish and we had translators. Some speakers spoke in English and then the translators would speak in Spanish, which was very cool. Anyway, this speaker, and I wish I knew her name now, said, "Where there is fear, there is ego." So think about something that you've been afraid about. I'm afraid there's not enough food in the refrigerator. I'm afraid that I will fail. I'm afraid, you can go on and on. But it's behind ego. Ego's behind it, rather. Because if I'm afraid to fail, that means I'm afraid for everyone to know that I tried something and it didn't work out. And that means I'm not perfect. And I want to present myself as perfect, for example. So all of this stuff gets changed out. So when we look at our random stuff that comes up, and this has been happening probably for a year for a lot of people, and maybe even for you for that long, where random events from your past have come up. And you think to yourself, why is that in my memory? Why did that come up in my memory? Why did that come up in my dream? And the answer is so you can recalibrate it, reframe it, and make it, excuse me, make it into a version of the reality that's pleasing. Because as we evolve into 5D, we don't want to take any garbage. We don't want to take any baggage that isn't a match for 5D. But when we redo the history, we've become a match, a better match for 5D. Isn't that cool?
That is wild. And it just takes a few minutes to kind of let these memories bubble up and address them if that's what they're needing to be done. I'll even douse it with forgiveness if it's something that I need to just feel a little bit more. I've gone back, like you've said, because you've taught this before, I've gone back into conversation or into situation that I'm observing and I'm interpreting it in a way that is not a very healthy outcome. And I've talked through it. Like maybe at 5, I didn't know I had the voice I have now, but I used the voice I had now to work through my expression of what was going on then. So there was more resolution. It could be shedded and dissolved and sent back to source.
Exactly. So the CMEs cause a vibrational shaking, both geomagnetic and psychic. The shaking dislodges embedded fear programs long held in the collective and individual field. What feels like chaos is purification. So when fear arises in this wave of solar activity, recognize it's the ego's voice responding to a frequency it cannot control.
Mm.
And then we can ask, is this mine? Not all of it is ours. Some of it is mass consciousness. Isn't that wild?
Well,
And
it is very wild, but yet it's what a lot of people are experiencing without being able to put that verbiage to it. So there's a lot of people running around here that don't have no idea why they're being triggered or what trigger is creating, behavior that is not becoming of them or might not be something that they would normally do. I'm seeing a lot of that out there too.
so the ego misinterprets it's the CME effects, emotion, intense emotion, fatigue, disorientation, as evidence that something is wrong. In truth, the subtle fields are recalibrating. And in my experience, I just needed to sleep. I needed to let myself unhook and just sleep. How about you?
I've had myself kind of had to back up and literally physically slow down, like not walk so fast from one destination to another to slow down. I even found myself eating faster. Like I was sitting there and I recognized it. I went, why am I shoveling this in my face? It's like I've got to go somewhere, I've got to do something. And I've had to do a lot of self-talking of slow down, you're fine, trust your space, trust this place, you're okay. This is just energy coming through you, right? I didn't have time to stop and like go outside and kickbox or, get the energy out that way because not all of us have that time during our work days, but I have found that it's been the most intense I have ever dealt or worked on processing as I have in the last 2 weeks, period.
Mm,
And it's still going on.
and that's cool. And that's very illuminating. And that's the question I invite people to ask. What is the solar wave illuminating in me? And
Mhm.
you made space for that. And you created space by noticing that you were speeding things up. And it was the ego's way of trying to control. And as soon as you felt it, you understood, nah, that's not me. I'm gonna I'm gonna take charge here as the heart-centered individual. So
Mhm.
when the ego clings in the face of this formless expansion, we run into these obstacles that are created by our resistance. So I like what you did when you talk about noticing that something else is going on and then choosing to step out of that. I don't have, I don't need to blah, 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 whatever it is. Yeah. And I found that conversations would get escalated or it was like this extreme. Things either moved really, really fast or they were trying to move really, really slow and you felt lethargic.
Yes, very much so. So would you say that our systems are calibrating to new standards?
Indeed. And
Mhm.
that's the fifth dimensional energy because we are so, um, years ago, when I asked about what would happen in the future, And I was shown that the masters who are working with the earth had found a way to cause the elevation of humanity, the ascension, if you will, without massive hysteria. You know, if everything changes abruptly in a certain way, people go a little crazy. But if it happens like this and we're kind of forced to move through it, but it isn't understandable, it doesn't frighten us, you know, then it's a smooth transition. And that's what I was shown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when we want to bring in those new codes, first we ask, you know, what is being illuminated in me, which is very cool because you might get new information. And number two, I thank my ego for helping me notice and align my 5D self to choose my highest timeline.
I need you to repeat that for the viewers. That was powerful.
Okay. I thank the ego for alerting me to what I am resisting, and I now align myself with my 5D self and choose my highest timeline.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now that just put me back in my body a little bit.
Cool. And so this solar event was not an interruption, it was a transmission of elevation.
Does the three-eyed atlas have anything to do with any of this? Do you get any
Oh, I'm
messages on that?
so
Or,
glad you asked.
well, you know, I hesitate because I get different messages on it too, and I don't like it to be a main topic. But, you know, hey, we're talking about, you know, CMEs and solar flares and so on. Let's talk about the newcomer on the block that's circulating out there.
And then you can share what your experience was. So
Okay.
so I have not followed the news on the three
Nor
eye
I. Hmm.
four eye, whatever it is now, Atlas. And for the record, I had someone explain this to me yesterday, that the number is the number of incidents that we have tracked in our history. So it's, you know, how many, maybe only 2 centuries that we've been tracking our stellar history. So this is the third time an object outside of our solar system has entered our solar system. So
Hmm.
that's where the number 3 comes from. Okay, so I'm in meditation one morning, and I honestly had no concern or interest in this atlas, and I had been aware of it because you see random stuff in the news, but I wasn't paying much attention. So I didn't realize that there was a lot of fear around it. So anyway, I remote viewed it, and I want to read from my notes here, if I
Yes,
may.
please.
Um, so I okay, so I connected with the device, and I like I said, I was in meditation when I got the message, you should remote view this. So I saw it as a spaceship. It had entered our solar system through a portal. And what I saw were plasma type beings. They're like iridescent green, and they are shapeless and nebulous. Now, what does that mean? What I saw would be like when you pour cream in the coffee and it changes, or when you pour a dark liquid into a light liquid, you know, maybe, I don't know, grape juice into oil or something, you would see definite separation of two liquids, but they would be formless forms, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So they came to our reality through a portal that wasn't supposed to exist. It was an anomaly in the field. I also saw one being. Once I connected with them, I'm trying to figure out what to do. So then I ask if I can speak to the commander of the ship. And I saw a being that looked like an ant person. Now, when I say an ant person, what I'm really thinking about is like sticks for legs and a bulbous torso and another bulb for the chest and then a bulb for the face. And I saw big black eyes. Well, a couple of days later, I saw one of those human robots that walk around, that looks like a human robot. And I realized that the commander of the ship, the pilot of the ship, was a robot. Okay? So when I recognized that there was one kind of being running the show, driving the ship, and another group of being as passengers, I asked if they were hostages. Again, this is my overlay, my personality overlay. And this is the thing that happens with remote viewing. You use what you know to understand or interpret what you see. And you might see a pyramid, but in fact, it's just a triangle shaped block. I don't know, but you get my drift. What I'm trying to say is that remote viewing is not an exact science. It's a viewing of something that can provide information. And it's also well to do it with more than one person so that you can corroborate each other. Okay, so I asked, I knew that they had separate agendas. So then I asked if they were hostages, and they didn't answer, and they kind of pulled back from the question. So then I felt bad that I'd asked the question, and maybe I had misunderstood. And then I then asked these beings if there was anything I could do to support them or help them. And they told me, that I should send them unconditional love, which I did.
Mm.
Now, they also said that they had nothing to do with the planet Earth and that they were not interacting with Earth people. Then I sent it to Tom Dongo, who is considered one of the most evolved remote viewers out there. And he and I have taught classes on it. We have those on our website. And so I sent him what I got. And he didn't know I was going to remote view it, and I didn't know he had remote viewed it. So it was kind of cool because he said, wow, I was on a show earlier this week with over 2 million listeners, and your description is almost exactly what I saw and told them on the show. And this was a week ago. The ship itself is a living being. And he said from his vantage point, they were very strange life forms. He'd never seen the likes of that kind of being before. And what I thought, it takes time for this to kind of evolve, and have you ever had an instance where you saw something in a movie and then, maybe a week later you realize, oh, that was this. And it kind of connects. You finally get the connection. So that kind of thing happens with remote viewing. And so that's why I realized that this Ant-Man was really a robot. And then I got the idea, and again, this is my human self. I did not remote view this, and I did not get this in remote viewing, but I wondered if they were seeding a new universe and that these were embryos. And the reason I got that is because I don't, when I download stuff and I'm using language that I understand the words, but it's not my everyday language, I don't use the word embryo. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you always know you're getting it from your higher source when you're using non-regular domestic, conversation and verbiage
Exactly.
that you normally spill out. For me, I didn't really pay that much attention to Three-Eyed Atlas. I heard a little bit about it probably early October, maybe. And I would scroll and I thought, what is somebody channeling a new being called Three-Eyed Atlas? This is weird. And then, of course, when something comes, about everybody puts it on their channel. So I was scrolling it and I'm seeing it on everybody's channel and I'm like, what the heck? who is channeling this being that they're on all these shows? How popular are they? So I stopped to kind of listen to one, and then I realized that it was this thing in the sky that they're not sure. Is it a plane? Is it a bird? Is it Superman? Is it a comet? Right. So again, I wouldn't get into conversation about it. I didn't get conversation. I wasn't getting messages. I was told it doesn't matter. It will all be as it's supposed to be. So fast forward to the 23rd of October. It came up again in my awareness. So I went and I sat down, and this is just what came through. Three-eyed atlas, celestial crop dusting, waves waves of energy imprinting specifically into each place, planet, space, in all directions for corrections to bring forth new seeding. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And they're like, it doesn't matter if it's a ship, it doesn't matter if it's a flying planet, it's celestial. It's all going to fall into place. Everyone will know what it is later. A lot of this is speculation. Don't get caught up in the hype because it's the topic du jour. And so that was back on the 23rd, and I've just never thought anything else of it. But it was showing me like this planet type thing going through, and then it was just sort of putting out this dust, this energy that looked like dust. So that's why it was called like crop dusting, like it was just letting this
I
out.
love that analogy. It's
Yeah.
just love.
But it was energy, and it was specifically imprinting every space of every place and every planet, all up there in that stratosphere, atmosphere, whatever you want to call the upper realms of the universe, outside of whatever, the black hole of space. And then it was going in every direction for corrections to bring forth new seeding. And I was like, all right. And I've never thought another thing of it. As a matter of fact, I had to go way back in my book just now to look what I said. Look what came through. So I was like, okay, well, it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. But I do think it's interesting that it's coming at the same time where there are very intense energies that I just heard about a couple days ago, because I did not know about the solar flares and the CMEs and all the other things I didn't know. All I knew is my body was experiencing wanting to expand from the inside out. It's like my heart is there's this warm sensation all in my chest 24/7, and something is behind my heart pushing it forward almost into my sternum and redesigning the shape of my heart. It's the only way I can describe it. But at the same time, there's this, rev. And then I'm like,
Going, oh shit, what's going on?
Yes.
What do I do? What do I do? Because I can't control it.
Yes. And there's not fear that I need to brace. I'm not trying to find every brake pedal. It's more like I'm aware of what this is. And as I go through my day, I just have to keep reminding myself, slow down. You've had a lot of near misses going on a couple different levels, along with the recycling and the spinning and the regurgitation of things that no longer need to be stored in my DNA and energy field.
Right. And we all have different ways of releasing that. I want our listeners to know that however you've chosen to release it, that's probably ideal for you, and to be okay with what we're letting go. We are in a time when people are required to change and to be different. And especially if we have had a story we told about ourselves, or if we have a behavior that we've always had that now needs to change. And my sister said to me once, when people get old, their bad habits become their lead habits, and the filters go down. And science and psychology show that elderly people lose the filters to speak what they really think. But it's time for us to do that anyway.
Yes. Well, I think what's the Chinese, this year is the year of the snake and of shedding. And I think next year is the fire horse. So, we're in the end of a calendar year and it is time to shed. And of course, it's coming at a time where maybe you've left it to the 11th hour. You've left it to the 11th and 12th month of the year to do the work you should have started in January. And on top of a very busy, chaotic holiday time. So, what could we leave the viewers, to maybe a couple suggestions of what to do, um, that might be of assistance to them during times of known and unknown awareness of energies within them changing and around them changing?
Well, for sure, you want to let yourself have the anxiety moment, even if it's something like, I'm feeling anxious and I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Then to say, okay, that's okay. Like you would comfort a child. You're comforting yourself. Yeah, that's okay. Why am I anxious? Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And then let that be okay. And then say, I don't need that anymore. Um, it shows up in so many ways, but primarily in our thoughts and in our behaviors. So it will show up with belongings, things that we've been attached to that we no longer need. And it shows up in relationships where it's not that the relationship would be dying as much as the relationship needs to change. And the energy supports changing, not pulling apart, which is
Mm-hmm.
very cool because a lot of times people face change in a relationship. Um, you know, Situations where one partner says, this has gotten out of hand and I can no longer be okay with that, to being able to actively express that concern and inviting change. Not inviting, you got to go, but inviting change, you know. And a lot of times people reach this point, what they call a no return, it's gotten out of hand. And sometimes, a lot of times I'm being shown, the couples aren't supposed to pull apart. They're supposed to evolve up.
Mm-hmm.
So when we encounter this energy, we need to totally relax into it, like you have described. And we can also claim, I'm getting all the benefits of this upgrade, of this energetic crop dusting, if you will.
Yeah.
And I claim it and let everything else slide.
Well, we're in it. And so, how do we accept the moment of what we're in and be the best that we can be in this now time? And so, we don't have to necessarily always use our logical, reasoning for what the energy is doing or why we're feeling the way that we feel. Sometimes those two don't always blend. And I think it's important that we connect with our breath and connect with the energies that we're feeling and acknowledge them. Say, hey, I'm feeling this way because of whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but how do I stay rooted and anchored and be fully present and truly experience what is going on, even if it feels uncomfortable, so I can maneuver my way through the rocky terrain that it feels like at times. Um, and then I'm going to give you, and I tell your spirit guides, I'm going to give you, time later when I get home. I'm going to sit for 30 minutes and then maybe you can help me align and calibrate with more ease, or help me to understand, or give me some things tools and tips that might help me move forward, feeling it more, a little more at peace while the chaos around me is stirring. And if you looked at it from an energetic toroidal field, sometimes it looks, there's never any stopping. Everything's moving in every which direction. And so sometimes you just got to hit yourself with a taser and step out of it and realign the nervous system and connect, because we can't follow what the collective are doing. We have to remove ourselves from the collective and be this very strong, anchored individual before then we can get in and mix with the collective, the general public, and help to harmonize and balance and calibrate their energies. But their energies are not our job. Our job is right here in this physical,
And,
energetic field.
and as enough of us hit that tipping point,
Yes.
everything flips anyway.
Yes, it does. But each person has to do what they're supposed to do just to
Right.
maintain
We
a
have to do our
healthy,
part.
yeah,
Mhm.
just to maintain a healthy homeostasis in the day that you're being given, no matter what that to-do list says, and then allow for any of the extra hiccups that come along throughout that day. And so you're either going to feed into that and become frazzled and wired out and not yourself and exhausted, or you're going to maintain and gain, frequency energy to help you sustain and in a higher volume throughout all of this.
Mhm.
So Maureen, thank you so very much for all of your nuggets and your trails of wisdom and your foregoing and your forecasting and your remote viewing and all the things that you bring to the viewers. It's just so valuable. And I'd still like to make sure I ask the viewers once again, please share this video, like, subscribe, leave us comments, get the circulation going. So conversations like this can wound up on someone else's table and they can observe it and maybe find some helpful hints and tips to change in their own world. So anything else you want to add before we say adios and amigo?
I like to always close with ask for a day of heaven on earth for you and everyone you come in contact with and everyone you come in contact with.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Maureen. Everyone viewing, keep it spiritually simple. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.